So you're most welcome, teachers, to today's training. We have training on agriculture, the rationalized curriculum in agriculture in grade 5 and grade 6. And this also affects those who are teaching JS in grade 7, 8, and 9. So it's not specific to grade 5 and 6 teachers, even junior school teachers could join. It's going to be very informative. And it also helps you if you're in teaching junior school on how you're going to further their science curriculum in the upper classes. So the rationalization that happened recently is what we're going to tackle here, specifically in grade 5 and grade 6. Karibuni sana, I've seen a few of us have registered our selves on the chat box. Teacher Maggie from Ponyways in Roiro, you're most welcome. Isaac Kiangwi Gitwekere from Komotoba Primary Kuria in Migori. Thank you for being a loyal follower of what Oxford does online and elsewhere. Karibu sana. Elijah Millet from Emurutoto. This is in Narok County. You're most welcome. Robert Mendeleo, karibu sana. Thank you for joining us. Jonathan Mwangangi, Mountain View School in Nairobi, in Kasarani, karibu. Dr. Mansour Ali, thank you. It's good to have you. Karibu sana. Obeda Piri from Mombasa, Al-Fatiha in Mombasa. You're most welcome. Ibrahim Daniel Nyamwea from Nakuru in Molo Sub-County. PC Elbagon is the name of your school. Elbagon Comprehensive School. You're most welcome to today's training. Just giving us a few more minutes to allow a few others to join us. Not too long though, because it's 4 o'clock. Our trainer is already here and getting ready to start off this session. And our title in agriculture is known as Modern Agriculture, as you can see it on the screen. We have Modern Agriculture in grade 5 and in grade 6. And we also have accompanying workbooks, as you can see on your right side, meaning that what you teach with the course book, you can then reinforce with the workbook. The workbook mainly has extra work, revision work, has a lot of exercises, which you may not find in the course books. And therefore, that's why we have prepared the workbooks for various subjects, various classes to assist you and give you backup and help you reinforce what you're teaching in the classroom. So that's how grade 6 looks like, and grade 5 is on the screen for both the course book and the workbook. Great. For the teachers who have just joined us, kindly introduce yourself on the chat box so that we get to know who is joining us. And this is a good forum for you to interact with teachers from different parts of the country, different schools, and get to know each other. And this may help us collaborate better even after this training. Thank you, Jared, from Kiambu Ebenezer School. Jared Nyantika, karibu sana to this training. Just about to share the trainer's profile so that we get started. For those who are joining us, this is an online training sponsored by Oxford University Press East Africa, and it's going to tackle agriculture in grade 5 and 6. But as I'd mentioned earlier, JS teachers are also very welcome, and any other grade, because what we're doing here will also affect other classes and will also help you in teaching other classes, especially in junior school. Moses Okewe, thank you for joining us from Horoni Factory School. Karibu sana. Let me share the trainer's profile so the trainer can get started because we're already past 4 o'clock. These others are joining us for this webinar. So our trainer for today is Steward Anyona. who is a seasoned teacher, a CBC champion. He's also an author, and he's co-authored in CBC agriculture textbooks with Oxford University Press in grade 4 and grade 9, up to grade 9. He's also a recognized CBC champion and mentor. And as a co-author of agriculture textbooks for grade 1 to 9, he's dedicated to creating impactful learning resources and fostering learner-centered education. Has the belief that agriculture has the power to transform communities. He's a fellow teacher with us here in Nairobi, and therefore I'm sure he's the right person to take us through this session today. And Steward Anyona, I hope you can hear us and you can take it up from here.
Susan.
Okay.
Good evening, teachers. As you have heard, my name is Steward Anyona. I'm a teacher in Nairobi. I've co-authored various books in agriculture from grade 4 to 9. And I've also done grade 1 environmental activities. And I'm here to share with you the knowledge that I have from the experience of co-authoring books. I'm also a CBC champion in Nairobi, especially in the Embakasi sub-county. Now, through this journey of the CBC curriculum, very many changes have gone through. And we shall be having a look at, I think I need to share my slides. We shall be having a look at a few of the changes, because when this curriculum started, it was around 2017. There were a few challenges along the way that culminated in the Presidential Working Party, which was initiated by our president, Dr. Ruto. And from that, there were key suggestions which indicated that actually the CBC curriculum, which was good, needed to maybe be improved. So I want us to start. Let me share my slides.
As you share your slides, Steward, I would ask the teachers to put in their questions in the Q&A chat box.
Oh, sure. Sure, yeah, correct.
Yeah, the normal chat box will be busy throughout the session with comments and any other additions from teachers, but let's use the Q&A specifically to ask our questions. Thank you.
So I hope my presentation can be seen from your side.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, good. So yeah. Fellow teachers, basically we're going to have a journey with you for the rest of our 1 hour or so that you can understand the rationalized curriculum. And my focus will be grade 5 and grade 6. But of course, I think as my colleague panelists have said, even the science teachers can benefit a lot from this, because agriculture is closely related to science. So as I said, these are the 2 books that we're going to focus today on. That is Modern Agriculture grade 5 and Modern Agriculture grade 6. We shall move together through this journey. And basically, these are the objectives of this webinar today. We shall have an overview, a brief one, on the rationalized curriculum, which came in 2023 thereabout. We shall also talk about agriculture, how it was marked with home science. Then we shall focus on the methods of teaching agriculture, especially in grades 5 and 6. And later, through the webinar, we shall talk about the methods of assessing learners and teaching in grade 5 and 6. Our key focus being, of course, in agriculture grade 5 and 6. We shall have interactive sections along the way. I'm urging teachers to get used to this Mentimeter. I'll engage you in asking a few questions so that we make sure we are we're together. So straight to our first objective. As I said earlier, the CBC curriculum was introduced in 2017. But thereabout in 2022, there was a call for restructuring, and there were a few key suggestions on what needs to be done really, so that the content is more relevant and maybe user-friendly. One of the suggestions was that there was an overload, so there needs to be overload removal.
Steward, we can't hear you. Steward, you can hear us? Okay. So teachers, give us 2 minutes. We just sort out the issue that our trainer could be having or could be experiencing. If we could just request for you to be a bit patient as we try to resolve. Thank you, teachers, for your patience. Let's give our trainer a minute to get back. He had an issue with his connectivity, and that's why he dropped off. And thank you for those who have joined us after the trainer had already started. I can see Moyendo Adam from Nairobi and Juliet Njoru from Kirinyaga and Kevin J. Living Hope. I can see Maurice Mwenda from Meru County. Simon Gekobo, you're welcome. I can see Daniel Kamau from Michorescu, Karibu. Emmanuel Kahindi from Kendugui Academy in Meru County. Thank you. Just allow our trainer to get back. For those who are joining us now, we had already started, but our trainer had an issue with connectivity. He's just joining us back very, very shortly. Thank you for those who are still joining us. Jotham Mutuma, thank you for joining in. Sorry, our trainer has had connection issues. We started very punctually for those who are joining us now. So he's just about to get back on the platform and then we'll get going. So sorry for that interruption. He has had a connection issue. And thank you for those who have joined us after we had already started. I'd already introduced a number of us. And I've seen a few more have joined. Thank you very much for joining in. Sharon Kagweria, thank you. From Riro, I noticed you joined us recently. Daniel Mwangi from Nakuru, thank you. Thank you. Rose from Kisumu, Obiero. Thank you. We are just about to come back in 1 minute. So thank you, teachers, for your patience. I'm sure we'll be back very shortly. Our trainer is being sorted out so that he's able to rejoin. And I'm sure we'll be fine.
And Susan, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm very sorry. These technology problems.
It's okay.
So as I was saying, let me try to share I can share it now from my side.
Okay, you don't want to share, that's fine. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Thank you, teachers, for your patience. You can proceed from where we had stopped.
So I think we're good to go.
Yes, we are.
So as we were saying, teachers, sorry for that. So there were suggestions, teachers, make it more manageable by the teachers' own learning outcomes. I'm going to share some examples later on differences between the new curriculum and that old curriculum. Of course, both of them CBC curriculum. So during this time, the suggestions were that some learning areas were supposed to be marked. I think we had subjects like learning areas like social studies, which was marked with the life skills. We had computer science, which was matched with the pre-tech in junior secondary. We had the creative arts being matched, the subjects like performing arts, music, art, they were marked to form creative arts, plus physical education. So some learning areas were actually merged. Some content was dropped in certain grades. For example, if you go to home science, there's some topics that were removed completely and taken to other levels. Then there was also focus on the key learning outcomes so that we make the work more manageable by the teachers as they lesson plan and try to interpret the curriculum. So This is the 2017 CBC curriculum. We may sometimes forget and call it the old curriculum, but actually the old curriculum was the 844 curriculum. There was a lot of repetition when it comes to the content. You'll find, like, if I take you to agriculture, you'll find there were areas where you could be dealing with food preservation. Yet again, we have food preservation in home science. So there was an overlap of our content across the learning areas and again across the grades. Then there was limited time for practical activities because the work was huge. Then development of competencies was hindered by that overload. So the work became more difficult for the teacher and also for the learners to grasp. Now, due to this volume, the learners struggled actually to grasp the vast content and volume of the 2017 CBC curriculum. And because of this, we now had this. We now had, I'm looking for the slide that is showing the new curriculum. This is just an example of the old curriculum that is showing an overload. I've picked a curriculum designed for grade 6, which was agriculture, the 2017 curriculum. If you go to the specific area here, where we have the specific learning objectives, we have the strand is conserving our environment, the substrand is soil erosion control, and then this work was supposed to be covered in 10 lessons, supposedly. And when you go to the specific learning outcomes, we shall discuss them later, you can see already they are A to F. First, they explain the meaning of soil erosion, then they identify the types of soil erosion, then they come and differentiate between a splash and sheet erosion, then gully and reel. Actually, these objectives or learning outcomes were about 7. You see, we continue with the learning experiences. But if you go to the rationalized curriculum, now the content was reduced, focusing on the key concepts. There was clear progression of topics across the grades. It was clearer. The learning outcomes, so as we will see in the next slide, they're a bit clearer, achievable. And the content was a bit simplified for easier and deeper engagement with the learners. And if I can share just a page, of that, you can see now the same grade 6 agriculture. Actually, we don't call it agriculture and design, and nutrition, we call it agriculture. The strand was changed from conserving the environment to conservation of resources, a topic that is more relevant to the environment because we're dealing with resources. Soil is a resource. Then the substrand now from soil erosion control, it was changed to controlling soil erosion. And then the specific learning outcomes, if you're keen there, they were reduced by 3. There were 6 on the other side. Now they are 3. By the end of this substrand, the learner should be able to just describe soil erosion, control soil erosion, and appreciate the importance of conserving soil erosion. So you can see this one is clearer. The overload has been removed. And again, this will help the teacher towards the end when it comes to delivering content in class. That's what I was trying to say. So there's a big difference between the rationalized curriculum, which started in 2023 there, and the old CBC curriculum, which was initiated in Kenya in around 2017. Teachers, you could be putting your questions on the comment section because we shall come there. Someone could ask, why was agriculture matched with home science? Why can't we match agriculture with art and craft, or maybe with science? Because like in the previous curriculum, the 844 curriculum, we had science and agriculture. Now, why are we matching home science with agriculture specifically? we need to understand that these subjects are, they're both practical and they focus on life skills. For example, in agriculture, we are focusing on, learners are focusing on how to grow crops. That's agriculture. After growing these crops, they will process the crops, preserve them, and cook them. That's home science now. So these subjects are a bit practical, both of them. And again, they focus on life skills, which will help these children have some sustainability in future and become self-reliant. Then it will also help reduce unnecessary repetition of the subject content. As I told you earlier, if we go through the agriculture, the old agriculture curriculum, CBC one, we had food preservation. In home science, they also learn about food preservation. So it's better we remove this and avoid unnecessary repetition along the subject in very many areas. This again will allow, if we match home science and agriculture, this will allow for better utilization of resources in the school. For example, the school has a farm. They produce vegetables, for example, or a school garden, they produce vegetables. So they're learning on various methods of farming, taking care of these vegetables, like irrigation, pruning, and removing weeds. After that, they're going to harvest the vegetables. For example, sukuma wiki, kales, or spinach. Harvesting these vegetables now will bring home science in. How do we keep them? How do we prepare this food? How do we preserve the extra ones? This is now home science. So this allows the school to utilize just one resource, the school garden, for both home science and agriculture in the end. Then the merging of agriculture and home science in this rationalization has made it easier to the teacher and again to the learner. On the side of the teacher, it's easier for the teachers to plan and deliver because it's now simpler, clearer, and straight to the point. We have more time for practical activities, so the learners are able to grasp more and more. It's easier for them again to understand because the concepts have been simplified from soil erosion control to controlling soil erosion, meaning the same thing, but the content has been made more relevant and more simplified. The content is also manageable and has eased off pressure on the learners. There is better preparation for the real world challenges when it comes to agriculture and nutrition, especially on the side of the learners, because they have enough time to grasp the skills in agriculture and nutrition. So we also need to get to know why curriculum interpretation is very important to the teacher, because you can't go to class if you're not able to interpret the curriculum designs very well. So for the sake of the learner, it's very important for the teacher to interpret the curriculum designs properly, because this one, again, makes sure there is uniformity in teaching. A teacher in Mandera prepares almost the same way as the teacher in Nairobi and the teacher in Kisumu, because you're following the same order and you're using the same interpretation. It also guides the teachers in picking up the content from the curriculum design to the schemes of work and down to the cascading down to the lesson plan as they plan to deliver the content and again assess teaching and learning. It also guides the teacher in effective implementation of the curriculum. When the teacher is able to interpret what is in the curriculum design, it's easier for them to implement what they have grasped from the content from the curriculum designs in class now. So in this session, we shall be looking at the key areas for the curriculum interpretation. We shall look at the three key areas. One of them, the teacher needs to understand the structure of the curriculum designs. How are these structured? And then they also need to align teaching with the learning outcomes, because the learning outcomes is what gives the teacher the content to teach, the concepts to teach. Then finally, it helps in integrating learning outcomes with the learning experiences. In this case, the learning experiences are the activities that children are going to be involved in when they are in class. Now, I've given some slides there. I hope they can be seen. When you look at the curriculum design, they normally have the 8 national goals of education. The first one is normally about national unity, patriotism, and nationalism. Then there is socio-economic, fostering, promoting the socio-economic and technological and industrial development. Of course, focusing on the social needs, economic needs, and technological needs of the education. In this case, focusing on the learner, because they're our future. Of course, there are 8. I will not go through all of them, but that's the first part of the curriculum design, which actually addresses the needs of the country, because it's from the needs of the country that the curriculum was designed. Then, of course, we have different learning outcomes. Outcomes are what we formally used to call objectives. The learning outcomes are divided into various groups. As you understand, the CBC curriculum has levels. Where we have the lower primary level, we have the upper primary level, we have the junior school level, and actually we have the senior school level. And in this case, we have 8 learning outcomes for the level, grade 4, 5, 6. We call them the level learning outcomes. I may not be able to read all of them, but the first one is communicate. By the end of the primary school education, the learner should be able to communicate appropriately using verbal and non-verbal modes in a variety of contexts. They should demonstrate mastery of a number of concepts to solve problems. They should demonstrate social skills, moral and religious values for positive contribution to the society, of course. They should develop their interests and their talents for personal fulfillment, among others. Then, of course, we have an essence statement, which an essence statement is basically a statement explaining why these children need to learn agriculture and home science in class. It talks about the skills the learners are going to acquire, the knowledge, the attitudes and values, which are related to conservation of resources, food production, hygiene, and production techniques, among others. Then after this, we have the general learning outcomes. In the general learning outcomes now, we're discussing agriculture. The learners will participate in actively in agricultural and household activities in conserving resources. They'll use the scarce resources through innovative practices so that they contribute towards food and nutrition security. They engage in food processes for self-sustainability, health, and of course, economic development. And finally, they adopt a personal and environmental hygiene practices for healthy living. So these are now the learning outcomes for the subject. The first ones were the learning outcomes for the level. Now, these are the learning outcomes for why these learners are studying agriculture and home science in class. Of course, after this, we have now the core part of the curriculum design, which we shall dwell on for a while. The curriculum design is arranged as you can see there. We have the strand. Like now I'm picking strand 1 for grade, this should be grade 5, where they're going to learn when they're going to cover conservation of resources. Then the sub-strand will be soil conservation. Then we have now the specific learning outcomes. Remember we have the level learning outcomes, which was captured in grade 4, 5, 6. Now we also came to the subject learning outcomes, which are now capturing the general learning outcomes, covering the subject itself, home science and agriculture. And then now we have the specific learning outcomes, which are going to help the teacher in knowing what to cover in class, specifically giving a specific content to be covered during that time. For example, in this case, the strand is soil conservation, and we're going to cover this substrand with within eight lessons. Of course, that's an approximation. And we have the 3 specific learning outcomes, we call them SLOs. The first one is to identify sites for soil improvement. Then we have, they're going to construct a waste pit for soil improvement. And then the last one, they're going to demonstrate the use of plant remains for soil improvement. Now, sticking to this a bit, the level learning outcomes, the specific learning outcomes have 3 aspects that the teacher needs to know. The first one normally has an action word, and in this case, we can see the word identify. So what are the children going to do? They're going to identify sites for soil improvement. It normally talks about cognitive knowledge. It's a knowledge-based outcome. Then the second one always picks a skill that the children are going to practice after learning about it. So they'll identify the sites for soil improvement. Now they have known what soil improvement is. They're able to identify a site in their locality that needs improvement, that is soil improvement. And then from there, they will now go ahead and practice a skill. So the specific learning outcome number 2 is normally a skill being instilled in their blood system so that they don't forget, so that it becomes part of them. So then the last one shows an attitude where the learners are going to demonstrate, they're going to appreciate the use of plant remains for soil improvement. So they know these are plant remains from the kitchen, these are plant remains like the peels of the peels of fruits, remains of vegetables. They now, after practicing, they appreciate. They know after eating, the food remains, the tomato peels, the orange peels, the banana peels, they can be used to improve the soil or to conserve the soil and make it more fertile. So it kind of shows value. It instills value. And if you go down, I'm still on this page. If you go down there, you will see we have core competencies, we have values, and in this case, we have unity, where there's collaborative skills as learners construct an organic waste pit for soil improvement. So learning outcome B and C instill skill and value at the same time. So we have the 3 aspects, as I said. The first one is cognitive knowledge. The second outcome focuses more on skill development, practical work. And the last one focuses on values instilled in these learners. Then after the specific learning outcomes, you'll be able to see some suggested learning experiences, SLEs. These suggested learning experiences are actually what used to be called learning activities in the old curriculum or the old syllabus. Like now they're talking about learners to discuss and identify sites in the school. You can see that. Learners to construct a pit. Also want to put in that, add in some weight here that the teacher is not tied to the 4, like now in this example, in this case, the 4 specific learning experience, suggested learning experiences. The teacher is free to do more research, tailor-make their lesson plan to fit the environment in which they are working. Because this, like now we may have suggested, the curriculum design here may suggest a video, but where the teacher is, a video may not be possible. But demonstration could be possible, or a discussion class, and tailor-make their lesson to make sure that the skills are instilled in the children. So the suggested learning experiences are just a guide to the teacher. They're just a guide to the teacher, and the teacher it's open for, you can add your own learning experiences. Now, during lesson making, these learning experiences are the ones the teacher is going to use to engage the learners with as they develop the lesson. In this case, I can't forget to mention the 5 E's. You see, like the first, you see, like the first learning experience is discuss and identify sites in the school. So when the teacher is making a lesson plan, he has to look for a way of engaging the learners first. We call it the 5 E's, engaging the learners first. That's the first E, engage them. The second E is explore. Let the learners explore by doing. You can see construct, a pit, a site, a structure is constructed there. So they're now doing it. Then the next 2 E's are the teacher guiding the learners. We call them explanation and elaboration. As they do this, the teacher is there to guide them, explain this, elaborate on this, show them direction. That is what I mean. But majorly the teacher is there to guide. The learners are the ones who are going to do the activity, being guided by the teacher. And finally, the 5th E is evaluation, which involves assessing content delivery. The teacher can assess himself. The learners can assess themselves through peer review. The teacher can ask oral questions. The teacher can observe what they are doing. That is still assessment and evaluation. So still on the same, down there, as I said, we have the core competences, which are inculcated in the learning experiences. So as the learning experiences are being, as the learning is going on through the learning experiences, these core competences are silently being inculcated in the child. So as the children discuss, as they identify the sites that need improvement, there is critical thinking and problem solving. So we're not going to have, the teacher is not going to teach critical thinking and problem solving aside. As the activity goes on, these core competences are also being developed in the child. The values are being instilled in the child. On the same, we have the key inquiry question. Which is supposed to stimulate, like now in this case, we have, how can we improve the soil using suitable organic waste? This key inquiry question here is actually stimulating critical thinking in the learners as they come up with ideas how they can improve the soil using suitable organic waste. They'll be brainstorming, they'll be sharing, they'll be giving suggestions. So critical thinking is being instilled there. They're being stimulated. They're coming up with more ideas, and that's essentially the main idea. The main idea behind that key inquiry question. And again, the teacher can look at the content and look at the specific learning outcomes, and come up even with more key inquiry questions. But don't forget the suggested one. From there, we have the core competences. I think I've explained the core competences. I have explained the values. Of course, we have the PCIs. These are the pertinent and contemporary issues. These are the issues, we used to call them emerging issues. Like scarcity of water is an emerging issue, drought, and many other things. Like in this case, we're talking about recycling organic waste. That's an emerging issue, so that we conserve the environment, make sure it's clean, make sure it's neat, and again, use the waste that we have in improving the soil structure, improving the soil fertility, and making it actually more productive. Of course, we have links to other subjects. You'll find that as learners construct and use the organic waste pit, they are learning waste management, which is also related to science and technology. So I don't know. I want to engage you a bit. I want to engage you a bit. I want you to log in to menti.com. Just write menti.com in your, let me see if I can share the slide on Menti. Just go to Menti, just write menti.com. Menti.
Steward, the teachers can go to Google?
They can go to Google and just write menti.com.
Okay.
After that,
so teachers, if you can access your browser, and I think Google will be best, and just type in menti.com, just as it is written on the screen. And then our trainer will guide us from there as we're getting into a question, the first question for the session.
So let me take a minute and then share.
Okay.
So that they don't see the answers.
Yes.
Have I shared? I have.
No. We're still seeing your presentation. Maybe you need to stop sharing. You're sharing a presentation.
So you can't see me from there, isn't it?
Yes, we can only see the screen. Log in to menti.com. That's all we can see.
So log into menti.com. Let me see if I can share this slides here.
Okay.
I want to stop sharing completely.
Okay. Yes, you have. Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So I can give them a code.
All right.
A minute.
I hope teachers, we've managed to go to Google. Just type in Menti, menti.com. Then you will be asked to enter a code, and that's what Steward is about to give us.
Just a minute. So I want to ask them a few questions.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the code. It should not take very many minutes.
That's okay.
It also depends on the net we're using.
You can share a link. It's not possible. If you can share with me the link, maybe to be easier.
I'm going to give them the code. The code is 4587 1588. You can share it on the screen. 4587.
Yes, 4587
1588.
1588.
Yes.
And then you can click on join.
Yes, and then they log in.
Okay.
Then they will be seeing their answers on the screen.
Okay, so I hope teachers, we are together. So once you put in the code and you click on join, you'll find the questions from our trainer. And I'm already on the first question. Which of the following is a specific learning outcome for the substrand controlling soil erosion? I hope we are all there. In case we are not, let's read it out. Which of the following is a specific learning outcome for the substrand controlling soil erosion? So for those who are already on the Mentimeter, you can just click on the right answer, but maybe I can just read out for those who haven't. That is, identify types of the rocks in the environment.
Correct, it's blue in color.
Yeah, describe types of soil erosion in the environment and explain the water cycle. So which is a specific learning outcome for the substrand controlling soil erosion?
I can see there's one answer for Blue, identify types of rocks. We have 24, describe the types of soil erosion.
Okay.
We have 0 for the water cycle.
Yeah, so let me read out the choices for those who didn't manage. Identify types of rocks in the environment. That's number A. Describe types of soil erosion in the environment. That is B. And C, explain the water cycle. So there are those who have managed, and the trainer has been able to see the answers.
So we have 27 for B, 5 for 5 for blue, the first one. Actually, now we have 28 for the pink one. Describe the types of soil erosion. We have 6 for the types of rocks. So let's see the answer. I don't know whether they can see my screen. Eh?
We can see. We can only see your name. We can't see your screen.
Completely.
So you need to share. You need to share what you're seeing. But again, I think it's clear what the question is and what the choices are. But we can't see the answer.
30 got the correct one. Describe the types of soil erosion in the environment. As we said earlier, the specific learning outcome should have an action word, and they should be related to the content being there. Now that we're discussing controlling soil erosion, the first one there should be knowing what soil erosion is. So we have to describe the various types of soil erosion in the environment before we control. Can you see question number 2 in your end? Should be able to see question number 2.
Okay, not yet.
They're still answering.
Okay.
They're still answering. You can see 32 for B and 8 for blue.
Yeah. A good number of teachers have been able to join into the Mentimeter. So for those who are still asking where the questions are, you just needed to go to Google and put in menti.com, and then you'll be given the code which I had already shared. And the number of teachers who have been able to do so and responded.
Yeah, I think they can see.
And the answers are on that's the screen we couldn't see, yes.
So the correct answer is this, the middle color. That is pink. Describe the types of soil erosion. It's not able to move to the next slide. It should go to the next slide. Eh? I don't know. So there we have the correct answer there. We're not able to move to the next question. The next question.
Maybe you can just read it out and then the teachers can answer in the chat box.
Correct. Then let me share this, then I ask them the question. Eh?
Okay.
That will still do. So the next question. The next question is, what is one suggested learning experience for teaching soil erosion control? What is one suggested learning experience for teaching soil erosion control? Then the answers are, I'm reading the 3 answers. Writing an essay about soil erosion. This next one is watching a video clip or visiting a site for a closer look on soil erosion. The third one is memorizing the causes of soil erosion. What is one suggested learning experience?
Yeah, some of the answers already coming in. Okay. Yeah, I can see some of your answers. So for the second session, this question, sorry, there's no code. It's just question that the trainer read out, and we're just supposed to answer on the chat box. Let's just give in our answers. And then our trainer will be able to give us the way forward, whether we're on track. Steward, you can hear us? Thanks to those who have been able to put in their answers, and even the ones who were able to answer the first question. It required us to go very fast into Google, and thanks for being able to attend to that.
I'm not sure whether
Yeah, you're breaking, but the teacher's already answering the questions.
I think that is well answered. I can see the answers on the chat box. The most correct one is visiting the site or watching a video clip, because it involves the 5 senses of the learners: hearing, seeing, touching. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes. Then the third question, which I'm going to finish with before we go to the next session, is what are the core competences being developed when learners explore ways of controlling soil erosion? What are the core competences developed when learners explore ways to control soil erosion? And the first one is digital literacy. The second one is critical thinking and problem solving. The third one is communication and collaboration. So when the learners are exploring ways of controlling soil erosion, what core competence are they gaining? Is it digital literacy? Is it critical thinking and problem solving? Or is it communication and collaboration? I can see the chat box is moving very fast. Nicholas Rotich, critical thinking and problem solving. David Michael, communication and collaboration. Thank you. Helda Oresi, all the 3 of them. I like that. Critical thinking, learning to learn. Joseph, learning to learn was not among the answers I gave, the options I gave. All of them with this, Kasim. Basically, if you go to, thank you for the responses. If you go to the 3 options given there, assuming they're going to learn using a video clip, then digital literacy could be in. Assuming they're going to, of course, they're going to talk in groups, sharing, and making presentations, communication and collaboration is there. But the key thing here is the problem that we're solving. And the problem here is soil erosion. So I will think that critical thinking and problem solving will be the most appropriate response. I think now we can move to the next section. Susan?
Yes, you can share your screen, your slides.
Yes, I can go back to the slides.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, teachers, for participating.
So we are now able to interpret the curriculum designs very well. You can pick the content and use it in delivering the concepts in class. Now the key question now here is, how has the Oxford books, OUP books, been tailored so that they can accommodate the curriculum, the new curriculum, that is the CBC. If you go through the Oxford books, I'm going to share a few excerpts here. If you go through the Oxford books, they focus more on the competence-based learning to ensure that learners gain practical knowledge. It's learner-centered, so to speak. And then,
Stewart, we are not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Can I share? Can I share from my end?
I can.
Okay, we can't see your slides.
Sorry, just a minute. I think you can share from there. The sharing button has disappeared.
Okay, let me share.
Okay.
Is it here?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There. So basically, those are slides showing the content being that we've just been explaining. And the Oxford books have covered this content very well. The books, the grade 5 book and the grade 6 modern agriculture book have 4 strands. The first strand talks about conservation of resources. In this case, we're talking about soil as a resource, water as a resource, and at some point you'll find wild animals and domestic animals as a resource, because they can even give us income. Then the next strand normally talks about food production processes. And then the third one talks about food production, talks about rearing small domestic animals, preserving food, cooking, methods of cooking, like stewing and baking. And then the third one talks about hygiene practices. In this case, for grade 5, we have body cleanliness, laundry, and stain removal. And then the last one is normally, the last strand is production techniques. In grade 5, we have crocheting PPEs and construction of moist bed gardens. When you go to the grade 6 book, maybe Susan, you can move the next slide. Yes, they have also done the same. The topics are the same, conservation of resources. And in this case, we deal with soil conservation, water conservation, and conserving wild animals. That means living in harmony with them. Then we have food production processes like growing vegetables, uses of domestic animals, and food preservation and cooking. In the third strand, we have good grooming practices, home hygiene, laundry. And then the last one is again production techniques. In this case, they're learning about repairing garments, vertical and horizontal gardening. Now, before we go to the next slide, Susan, someone may ask, and I've seen this on the Facebook page. Someone is asking, we have 2 subjects here. We have agriculture, we have home science. Someone is asking, why are we calling this book agriculture? Why is the KICD calling this subject agriculture, yet we have home science inside? So I think that's a key question that also needs to be answered. One, we need to understand that agriculture is a core skill, and that's why when they merged the 2 subjects, they decided to retain agriculture. It's the core skill we're learning in Kenya. Home science is important, but agriculture in this context focuses on the practical application of agricultural products and in the home. And then home science comes in. So agriculture comes out as a core skill. And again, we need to remember that It also focuses on growing, producing, managing agricultural resources. Then home science just comes in as a way to apply these skills in everyday life. Umepanda mboga, now kupika home science comes second. I think I've tried to explain that. We can now go to the next slide, Susan. Now, this when you look at those 4 strands, they actually focus on the Kenya Vision 2030 goals, which talk about environmental conservation. You can see we're conserving soil, we're conserving wild animals, and we're conserving water. It talks about food security, which was, if you look at those strands, strand 2, food production, and strand 4, production techniques. And it also focuses on health, which is also one of the goals of Vision 2030. If you go to strand 3, it talks about hygiene practices or health practices. Next slide, Susan. So as I was telling you, the Oxford books have been tailored in such a way that they address these issues. And the 2 books, grade 5, grade 6 books, Modern Agriculture, they focus on competence-based learning. They're learner-centered to make sure that the learners gain practical knowledge, and assessment has been integrated in the learning activities. I'm going to show you a few examples from the actual books, whereby they're doing an activity, assessment goes on as the activity goes on, and they go hand in hand, so that we're able to reinforce the concepts. Next slide. So you can see it there. I've picked strand 1 from grade 5, which is on the left of our screen. It's talking about conservation of our resources. I have picked strand 2 from the grade 6 book, which talks about food production processes. So these books are organized in such a way that the themes are very well organized. You come from conserving the resources. There's an explanation there, explaining what conservation means and what it refers to. Then there's a reflection. When you go to the grade 6 book, you can see the same. There is a food production there, what food production entails. And down there, you can see rearing of small animals and points to note. Next slide. Yes, there's another example there from the grade 6 book on the right, which talks about routine practices in rearing small domestic animals. Then there is a grade 5 book, which talks about soil conservation. So each topic includes learning activities, discussions, and real-life practices. If you look at the grade 5 book, there's an activity there where they'll go out. When you look at activity 1, the learners will go out, check on various places in their locality, and then the questions guiding them on what to observe, they check on areas that need soil conservation, where the soil has been degraded, and then they're going to make presentations. When you go to the grade 6 book, activity 1, they're going to work in groups, that's communication and collaboration, they work together. Then they're going to have a discussion, the care practices done frequently, and then they're going to make a presentation by compiling the facts in a table. Next, after every substrand, there is a self-check, whereby we're going to have some assessment and see whether the learners have grasped the content, whether the teacher was effective in his communication and his teaching methodology. So if you look at the left, that is self-check 1, a grade 5 book, assessing learners' ability to answer questions from the activities they were doing outside class and in class. So after every substrand, the Oxford book has, if you go to page 10 of grade 5, you'll find self-check there. That's page 10 and page 11. If you go to page 56 of the grade 6 book, you will find an assessment assessing substrand 2. You can see there's the substrand 1 of strand 2, talking about animal welfare. So there is a self-check, which is an assessment at the end of each strand to measure or assess whether the content was well delivered. So if you look at those books, next slide. Yeah, good, we're there. If you look at those books, the learning is actually activity-based. The learners are engaged in hands-on tasks. And then you'll find them working in groups, having group discussions, getting guidance on farm visits where possible, which is now collaborative learning. You'll find children, the learners being guided to explore the various concepts using guided questions, and that is inquiry-based learning, which is the backbone in IBL. Inquiry-based learning is actually the backbone of CBC. And then mostly we have also tried to use a digital integration. You'll find a QR code at some point, which will take you to either a video, a photo, or an assignment in the book. You just scan using your phone, a smartphone, using a QR code scanner, and you are there. For example, if Susan, you can take us to the next slide. There is a QR code. They're carrying a lot of information. If you scan it using a phone, you'll discover there's a video there guiding learners. Those who are able to do it, they can write on the comments, guiding learners on how to prepare a sunken bed. That is modern agriculture grade 6. Whoever is able to scan that should tell us in the comments section so that we see if we are together. Anybody who has been able to scan that QR code? My phone has been able to get it.
Yeah, so let me just give some guidance to the teachers. You just need to go to your Google search bar. On the far right, before you click on anything, there's a Google Lens.
Yes.
Click on that Google Lens and then point it to the QR code on the screen. Once you click it, it will just pick the QR code. And then you open the link and you'll be led to the video. That's one way, but you can also download a QR code scanner from the Play Store of your phone. That's a second way you can access the QR code. But the Google Lens one on your Google search bar is the easiest that you can be able to use. But I'll leave this here at the end of the training for us to try it again so that we can move on for now.
So that we have enough time for this.
Yes, thank you.
So the books have actually a method of engaging teachers and learners in using technology, especially that QR code, which is also an engaging way that learners can get information on what they want, whether it's pictures, more research pages, videos, and some of these videos are prepared. Actually, all of them are prepared by Oxford. They're not just downloaded from YouTube. If you scan there, you'll see at the end of the presentation. You can move on. So that's a sample teaching activity or learning activity for grade 5. We have gone through it, where the activity is about learners walking around the school to identify soil conservation sites. Then, of course, we have discussion questions. So we have communication, then collaboration, and again, inquiry-based learning. Then, of course, we have an assessment in the same activity where the learners will explain their findings and even suggest improvements. That's an activity from grade 5. We can move on. So there is an excerpt there explaining the same. Activity 2, the learners are going out. Of course, the photos are for the book, but the learners are going out. They observe the 2 sites. Then they will be able to mention which one needs soil improvement, and they will explain why. That's an assessment now. They can actually also take photographs as a mode of digital interaction. The next one. The next one is a slide for the grade 6 book. The topic is water conservation. And the activities, learners are going to construct sunken beds and observe plant growth. They'll record changes in the soil moisture and plant health. So they will have a sunken bed and another site that is a control site. And then of course, they'll be recording the changes in soil moisture and plant health. And they'll be answering some reflective questions on water retention benefits. When the soil retains water, how do we as farmers benefit from the same? So we have engaging activities in the Oxford books. That's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Next slide, Susan. There's an excerpt there explaining the same again. There's an excerpt here explaining the same. We have types of seed beds. They learn about it, they talk about it. Then at the end there, they're going to share with other groups in class. So there's a lot of collaborative learning in Oxford books. Then we shall move to the next section, a different section, which is now assessment. Of course, I've talked about it briefly. Of course, when it comes to assessment, assessment does not mean exams. Assessment is a way of making sure that the content has been delivered, a skill has been inculcated in these learners' lives, or a core competence has been developed in these learners' lives. There are very many ways of assessing these learners. Assessment can be summative, which is done at the end of the strand, or at the end of the term, or at the end of the year. Like now they do CAPSEA examinations. The grade 3 normally do their Kenya early years assessment. But along the way, we also have what we call school-based assessments and class assessments. Class assessments, or the CAs, are the normal assessments we do or we give along the lessons, along the week until the term ends. We call them class assessments. Then we have school-based assessments, which are normally done by NEC. And the marks I put in the portal, the grading and the scores I put in the portal, they're keyed in the portal. And then of course we have the summative assessment, which is now the Kenya, the CAPSEA, and now we have the Kenya Junior Secondary. But basically, we have, as you can see from the Oxford books, we have decided we have done assessments in very many ways. And one of them was the digital assessment, where we have interactive exercises through digital devices and even the QR code itself. The teachers are also free to use the various other various ways of assessing learners, which will include portfolios. Portfolios are a collection of work samples of what the learner has been doing through the term or through the year. Looks like a file. We can use the oral questions, we can use practical activities and many others. So they are at liberty, the teachers are at liberty to pick on which is the most appropriate mode of assessing these learners, depending also on the topic. We have an excerpt there from grade 5 showing mulching. There's a topic there called mulching. They've been told to visit a farm. That's a practical activity where they're going to make observations as well. There's another excerpt. Hope I'm not moving so fast. There's another excerpt there showing a step-by-step student experiment. So practical activity. This one shows a step-by-step demonstration, which is also a way of assessing learners, because you are going to observe them and record what you can see in either in a checklist or in an observation schedule. Then next slide. I wanted us to go here, but I think Susan, I can just pose a question. It was one question on this area. The teachers can mention, the teachers can mention the various ways of assessing learners in their school. And I think we can post this, they can post this on the chat.
Yeah,
you can give
that's okay.
1 or 2 minutes.
Okay.
Give us 2-3 ways of assessing learners in your school. I can see some of us have already watched the video.
Yeah, the answer's already coming. Checklist.
Yeah, written test,
yeah.
Observation, yeah, good. Project, that's correct. You can see Q&A. Checklist, summative projects, oral test, portfolio, thank you. Elder observation, portfolio, written test, random assessment. Wow, the comments are just coming in, the responses are just coming in very fast. Portfolio, written test, oral questions, I think that is right. So you can see there are very many ways of assessing these children, but the key focus will be, don't focus on assessment as if we are giving an exam. And lastly, why Oxford books? As you can see from our presentation, the Oxford books inculcate practical agricultural activities and skills. From the excerpts I've shown you, which in turn promotes critical thinking and problem solving. When you go through the books, you can also see the continuous assessment, which reinforces learning. And basically, Oxford books are competence, they're aligned very well with the competence-based curriculum. I think at this point in time, they can go back and try the QR code.
Yes, as we also take some questions so that we also keep within our time.
Correct.
Yeah, I will share the screen as we answer the questions. Let me ask from someone who calls himself anonymous, and I hope you register yourself, because if you give your name as anonymous on the registration, then we cannot be able to give you a certificate. So kindly, teachers, make sure you are giving us the correct names when registering, because those should be your official names. The certificates will be sent to you via email, and then you can print, meaning you can use that. You can use that certificate in any office that you're going to work in. Yeah. So for those who registered themselves as anonymous, remember we cannot give you a certification since that will not be valid. So let me ask this one to you, Anyona. How can a teacher handling the learning areas after merging was done? That is the subject. After merging was done, how do they handle the agriculture? Because some of the teachers are specialized in agriculture alone and others in home science, yet now it's become one learning area or one subject. How does a teacher handle that?
It's actually a challenge that teachers are facing, but different schools are handling them using different ways to tailor make their style. For example, most of the schools I've gone to, they have included 2 teachers. You'll find there's a teacher who is very good in agriculture, and there's a teacher who is very good in home science. So basically, in timetabling, even previously in the 844 system, we had the same issue where we were having like science and agriculture, art and craft and music, AKIM, Housebed, which was home science and business education. And you'll find that the teacher that was good in home science probably was not specialized in teaching business education. So it's an issue of timetabling, and teachers can share the bits in the book that can suit them. I hope I've answered well.
Okay, the teacher can let us know whether that was clear on the chat box.
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a similar question from another teacher. I don't have to repeat that. Obed is asking, could there be future integrations of agriculture and home science with other subjects like business studies to promote agripreneurship, as in with business in pre-technical in the JS level? Could there be a probability, Steward?
I think at the primary level, that is covered in other subjects, especially I think social studies. The repetition of those concepts was removed because of the age of the learner. But if you go to senior school, you will find entrepreneurial skills are being taught in pre-tech and social studies again. So as they go to higher levels, it will be included. But at the primary level, I think it's well catered for, because these learners are there to get basic skills for now up to grade 6. Over to you.
Thank you. Then someone else is asking, why is NEC distinguishing KIPSEA results? For instance, agriculture was graded separately from nutrition, where someone would score exceeding expectations in agriculture, nutrition below. So someone is asking, why is there that disconnect? I don't know that, Steward, you could have an answer to that.
I think NEC itself is one of the stakeholders in implementing this CBC, because they're the main stakeholders when it comes to assessment. And there are so many changes that have not been fully implemented as they circumnavigate ways of getting into agriculture now, because basically initially agriculture was separate and home science was separate. So what they do during the KIPSEA examinations, they set a first part of the paper having agriculture questions, and the second part of the paper having questions tackling nutrition. So I don't think there's a problem, because the subject is one with sections.
Okay. Thank you. Then Ibrahim is mentioning here that there's a very big challenge in teaching farm-related lessons which require projects in arid areas. Maybe you can help us give creative ways to teachers teaching in such areas.
I didn't get you well. There's a challenge in
teaching farm-related lessons which require projects in arid areas. So you have any suggestions you could give to teachers who are teaching in such areas in the country?
I think the goodness with CBC is we don't go the uniform way of teaching. That is why, like now, when you're teaching soil erosion, we don't just teach the types of soil erosion, but we teach or we explore the types of soil erosion in our region. Like, when you go to the arid areas, you may not be able to see real erosion or maybe splash erosion. So the same case applies to farming activities. The teachers can improvise ways of delivering the content by, for example, initiating container gardening instead of the normal ground garden, which may not be possible in that area because it's dry, but a container garden can work. Yeah.
Okay. Then there's a teacher asking, can one assess learners from work covered in previous grades at the end of the term or at the end of the year?
Yeah, that is summative assessment. And again, the goodness with this curriculum, it's a bit cyclic, which means we deal with the same thing. Like now you saw the first strand in grade 5 was soil conservation. Conservation of resources. When you go to grade 6, it was still conservation of resources. When you go to the first strand, it was conservation of soil. In grade 5, it was soil improvement. In grade 6, it was controlling soil erosion. So it builds on the other one, which means the questions can be marked and set, especially when it comes to summative assessment.
Okay, thanks. I believe Ibrahim has been answered. Then Nelson is saying, I've gone through the curriculum and that merging of the content is to the level of the learner. He's just confirming that it's friendly to the learner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then will the learners really be able to use the acquired, will the learners really be able to use the acquired in real life situations? I'm not sure what the teacher means. Maybe to, I'm not too sure, but it probably concerns real life situations and how learners are supposed to apply that.
I'm trying to understand the teacher, but really, when you look at the specific learning outcomes, as we said, with the 3 aspects, the first one is gaining knowledge. After gaining the knowledge, now having the skill, doing practical work on the same. And as they do practical work, they appreciate and it becomes part of the system, and that is inculcating and instilling values and core competencies. So this learner, wherever they'll go, they'll be going there with a problem-solving mind. They may not necessarily be a farmer, but wherever they go, they'll be with a problem-solving mind because all the skills, the competencies are already instilled in them.
Okay, there's a teacher who is asking how we handle digital literacy. Digital literacy is one of the competencies to be developed in CBC. Kindly give some more guidance on how your digital content can be accessed. I think what I can do is just go back to the slide we had, the QR code. So what has happened, I can just let the teachers know, is that the QR codes have been placed in different parts and different sections of our books, the course books, and even the teacher's guides. So meaning that you will find digital content all over the textbook, be it grade 1, be it grade 9, be it grade 5 or 6, whichever grade it could be. So for those who can access the smart boards or who have the facilities in their schools, it's very easy for the teacher to be able to transfer this on their laptops and then project it. But even a simple device as your Android phone can be able to pick this. So you just need to go to your phone and go to your Google search bar, the normal Google at the top of your phone. And at the search bar, you'll find a Google Lens on your top right. It looks like a camera on that Google search bar. It looks like a camera, that's a Google Lens. Once you tap on the Google Lens, then point it to the QR code and it will pick the QR code and you need to open that link. That link will access you to a video, it will access you to some exercises. We even have exercises and assessment, as the trainer has mentioned, in those QR codes. And there's a lot we have put in for both the learner and the teacher in the QR code. So you don't have to send the learners to YouTube to go search and give them a very long link. We are refraining from that because it's not even recommended by KSCD since the learners can access content that's not appropriate. So to curb that, we have been able to create QR codes, which is a safe way for the teacher and especially the learners, and an easy way, quick way to access digital content. So whether you have a smart board or not, your phone is enough. They can even listen, even if they don't have any other gadgets. Your phone is enough. As long as you have some bundles and you access the QR code, they can even listen through your phone. For those who have computer labs, smart boards, you're already sorted when it comes to using our book. So we greatly encourage that you recommend this to your learners. And for the teachers, make sure you ask for the teacher's guide, which will give you guidance on how to handle the content, the lessons, how to do lesson planning, how to do skimming for every lesson you need to undertake. We have made it very easy for the teachers in the teacher's book and then for the learners in the learner's book. So this is a quick win for you if you're going to use our products. And they're already available in bookshops, grade 5 and 6 books, rationalized with and revised with the current curriculum that has been recommended by KICD. And even in other grades in grade 7, 8, and 9, our agriculture books are already available. We could be coming to an end, Steward. Probably you could give us your parting shot as we go to the very end. I'm just looking for any other questions that could be there.
Okay.
Let me just ask the last one from Oscar. He's asking, will KJSEA, the junior school assessment, be set only from grade 7 to 9 content, or will it be set with curriculum from grade 4 onwards?
As I said earlier, this content is cyclic. Okay, so you cannot say I'm going to set an assessment, decide an assessment from a specific grade alone. What the KJSEA assessment is going to do is going to assess the acquisition of core competencies, which started in grade 1, so to speak. So it will cut across, but of course, it will be according to the subject. There is a concept that was learned down there in grade 1, but now it's in agriculture grade 9. So the assessment should be assessing the core competences, but not the content in a specific level.
Great.
I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, I think that's clear. And thank you so much. We should be coming to the end. Before I talk to the teachers about certificates, I'm seeing very many questions about certificates. Maybe you can give us your parting shots, Steward, and thank you for a very good job done. Anything you'd want to mention to the teachers as we come to an end?
Thank you, Susan. I would like to tell the teachers that the Oxford books are in the market. Make use of them, engage with us, and we're ready to help one another so that we move these learners to the next level. Thanks.
Thank you. And the teachers have greatly enjoyed your lesson. And you can see it from the chat box that it's been a very useful and a very comprehensive presentation.
Asante sana.
Yeah, and for those who are asking whether we have IRE books, I've seen that from Hassan. Yes, we do in grade 4. Sure. And we are coming up with more for the missing classes. We needed to revise them all into the revised curriculum, so we are coming up with the rest. But for grade 4, it's already available and in the bookshops. And all these books that I'm displaying here, even the workbooks, as we have mentioned earlier, KCD discourages encyclopedia. So they've encouraged publishers to come up with workbooks. So we have workbooks from grade 1 to grade 6, which will help your learners get more practice work, more exercises. And more to that, we have also revision in grade 7. Sorry, let me go back to my slide. Sorry for that, it has dropped off. Yes, we do have revision in grade 7, apart from the workbooks. And the revision title is known as Revise and Assess. This will help the learners in grade 7 onwards, though we are coming up with the rest. They are not yet available in the bookshops in grade 8 and 9, but they'll help them with a lot of review of what they've already been taught in class. And this covers all the subjects. Pre-tech is included, English is included, math, but every subject is handled on its own, and they're already in bookshops. So every title we are sharing here is already available and can quickly be accessed in bookshops. And if you recommend it to the learners, I'm sure they will not struggle to be able to get a copy of our titles. Agriculture begins from grade 4 all the way to grade 9. And then the workbooks begin from grade 1 up to grade 6 per subject and per level. With that, we bring it to a close. Your certificates, we are sending them on email. And that's why I was asking that and making a very kind request that you could give us a correct names so that we don't award an anonymous person a certificate. It wouldn't be valid. So make sure in your registration, you give us your official names, the name of your school, so that those details appear in the certificates, which we are going to share. Hopefully, if not by the end of this week, early next week, you should have your certificates. They'll be sent on email, and then you'll be able to print from your end. We'll also send these slides on your emails so that you can also benefit from what we've learned today. So very many thanks for joining us. Kindly ask your learners to get these highly recommended books, and they're already approved by the Ministry of Education. They're already in bookshops, and you can recommend this to the parents and ensure you get a teacher's guide for every course book that your head teacher or your school purchases. We'll meet again tomorrow for science. You'll be able to see a link shared on the chat box for tomorrow's presentation. We're going to have grade 5 and 6 science training here on Zoom. And I would encourage as many of us as possible to register and come and benefit. As learners are taking a break, it's good for us to sharpen ourselves and get better, even as we are moving on with CBC, because we are all learning new concepts, new ideas, a lot of creativity on a daily basis. So there goes the invite for tomorrow's training. It's on the chat box. Kindly register, and you can also copy it and forward it to a friend, a colleague, and others who you know would be interested in tomorrow's training. See you again tomorrow. I'll not keep you for too long because we're already past time. And thank you so much, Steward, for taking time to be. And thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to be with us this evening. I know it is a sacrifice. You have a lot to do in your stations. And I believe it's all for the good of the learner, the Kenyan child. See you again tomorrow at the same time at 4 p.m. We'll be here for Science in grade 5 and 6. Bye-bye, and God bless you. All right.
Thank you.